Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Lyndon and thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate having you here. And in this video, I want to decode an entire chord chart. And the chord chart we're going to look at is the fantastic and beautiful jazz standard called Blue Bossa by Kenny Dorham. It's just such a fantastic piece of work because it contains loads of structures that come up all the time in chord charts. So it's a really, really good one. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is that historically I have really struggled with chord charts. Just when I first started looking at chord charts, I felt massively intimidated by them and I felt kind of useless, in all honesty, that I didn't understand them. I felt bad that I couldn't decode them and I couldn't figure out how I was ever going to be able to play through them. But now, after years of practice, I'm on the other side of that feeling and I can now explain this to other people in a really straightforward way that everybody gets, and that's what I'd like to do with you. And I'd like to go through step by step with Blue Bossa and explain everything and put it all together in a way that makes complete sense and is really straightforward. So if you're one of those people that looks at chord charts and just thinks, that's exactly the people that I'm targeting out there, and I really want to help you get the hang of it. So let me know in the comments below if you get it. I'd really appreciate it if you would. So before we take a dive into these chords, it would be really good if you understand about major scales and minor scales, and you've had a look at major 2-5-1s and minor 2-5-1s and harmonic minors. If you're okay with those, that would be brilliant because it's going to make this much easier for you to get. And if you haven't got those under your belt quite so much, that's absolutely fine, but go and have a look at some of my other tutorials. I'm going to put the links in the description below. If you're not comfortable with major 2-5-1s, minor 2-5-1s and harmonic minors particularly, then you should probably have a look at those first because it's going to make this much easier. And major scales and minor scales would be good as well. Right, so let's have a look at these chords. So the first 4 bars of Blue Bossa, we have the first 2 chords, we have D minor 7 and G minor 7. So if I was going to have a look at D minor 7 and work out what I'm going to play over it, I'd probably think, well, D minor 7 is the second mode of C, and so it would be Dorian, and that's a perfectly viable choice actually. But what I want to do is to have a look at the chords that are surrounding this chord and see the context. And if you have a look at the next chord, that is G minor 7. Now G minor 7 could be the second mode of F. And if it was, then D minor 7 could be the 6th mode or the relative minor of F. In other words, both of those chords could come from one place, which would be F major. Yes, get in. Now that makes my life much more easy because instead of thinking about 2 different derivatives, I'm just thinking about one scale, which is F major, or the notes of F major. And I could, now it's not the only thing that you could do, but it is something that you could do. So it's quite a good solution for these 2 chords. So what I would do is I would write out the chord tones, which would be D, F, A, C, and E. And for G, it would be G, B flat, D, F, and A. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link my fantastic app, Loop rather, my fantastic app, iReal Pro. By the way, iReal Pro makers, thank you so much because it's an absolutely fantastic app that I use all the time. Completely brilliant. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, as I've said, loop those 4 bars and just play the root of each chord, then the root and third, then the root third and fifth, then the root third, fifth and 7th, and then the root third, 5th, 7th, 9th of each one. And then I will reverse that. So I'll play, just to be super specific, 9th, 7th, 5th, 3rd and root. And then I will mess around with the chord tones, but not very much, and do a little improvisation. And this is a really fantastic way to practice. So let's see what that would sound like. So here we go. My big beautiful tenor, which I love with all my heart. That sounds really, really nice, and that is a brilliant way to practice, because you're practicing your chord tones, you're getting familiar with the chords, you're getting familiar in changing from one chord into another, you're doing some improvisation, you're doing it to a backing track. It's quite good fun, it feels really nice. I can't see the possible downside in practicing like that, and I'd really encourage you to do that and just spread that exercise that I've just done there. Spread it over time, it'd be really, really good. So that's the first 4 bars. Brilliant. So let's have a look at the next 4 bars. Now the next 4 bars, the big significant thing here is trying to train my recognition system to spot any structures or common patterns, and there really is one here. So anytime I see a circle with a slash through it, followed by a dominant 7th of some sort with a chord extension, that is going to trigger that could be a minor 2-5-1 system, and this definitely is a minor 2-5-1, which is followed by a minor chord, D minor 7. And in this case, the other thing that would give it away really is that if I look at D minor 7, well, E is definitely the 2nd note of D minor 7, and A is definitely the 5th note of D minor 7. So this whole structure here is a minor 2-5-1. Now it's important that I recognize that, because if I recognize it, there's a quite straightforward way that I can navigate over a minor 2-5-1. Now this is not the only way. There are loads and loads, probably an infinite amount of choices that you could have to improvise over a minor 2-5-1, including Locrian scales, altered scales, diminished scales, melodic minors, and a whole host of other things. But there is a quite straightforward way that you can navigate through this while sounding absolutely brilliant, and that's to use a harmonic minor. And the harmonic minor that I'm going to use is a harmonic minor in the key of D. And so I'm going to play the harmonic minor over the whole form, and the notes are D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C sharp and D. And I'm going to do that over all 3 chords over all 4 bars. And it's going to sound really, really nice. So again, what I'm going to do is go to my iReal Pro, I'm going to touch here, and I'm going to loop those 4 bars. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play straight up the scale and then straight down the scale, and then I'm going to improvise a little bit. I'm going to throw it around a little bit, the harmonic minor, but not really very much. So have a listen to how that sounds. Absolutely gorgeous. It sounds lovely. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, it's such a viable choice. Harmonic minor over the minor 2-5-1 over all 4 bars. Sounds brilliant. So the next thing that I want to do is to put these 2 things together. So in other words, the D minor 7 and G minor 7 and the harmonic minor. So the first 8 bars, I want to make a loop of that and see if I can go from one to the other and change gear at the right place. So I'm going to loop these 4 bars, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the chord tones, and then the harmonic minor I'm going to do that dead straight. So I'm going to play up to the ninth, so root 3, 5, 7, 9 of the D minor, root 3, 5, 7, 9 of the G minor, then I'm going to shift gears and play the harmonic minor. Second time round, I'm going to move around a little bit more, but again, not very much. So here we go. Sounds really, really nice, and again, that's a fantastic way to practice. I'm getting used to shifting from one gear into another gear and moving around and feeling relaxed and comfortable being able to do that. So let's have a look at the next 4 bars, and what we have here is, again, I want to see if I can see any connections. So I've got F minor 7 followed by B flat 7, and then I've got an E flat major, and think about any connections that there could be between these 3 chords. So anytime I see something minor 7 followed by something dominant 7, that's going to trigger my major 2-5-1 alert system. Alert, alert, they all come from the same scale. So that means that this is the second mode of E flat major, so that's Dorian. This is the 5th mode, it's Mixolydian, and this is the 1st mode. Now again, there's loads and loads of things that I could do, including, again, altered scales and diminished scales. There's an infinite amount of options. The 2 things that I'm going to do here: one, I'm going to work out the chord tones of each chord like we did before. So this is going to be F, A flat, C, E flat, and G, and this is going to be B flat, D, F, A flat and C, and this is going to be E flat, G, B flat, D and F. That is the root 3, 5, 7 and 9. But actually, the way that I'm going to navigate through this, just for the purposes of demonstration and simplicity and functionality, because this works really, really, really well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Dorian minor over these 2 chords, the F minor and the B flat 7, and I'm just going to land on one of the chord tones for the E flat major. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because it works really, really, really nicely. So the notes are going to be F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, and I might put a 9th in there, the G, and I'm going to play that over here, and then when I get to the E flat, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to land on one of the chord tones. I don't know which one yet, because I'll see when I get there, but probably a B flat or a D, and we'll see how that sounds, because again, that is going to sound really, really, really nice. Once again, all you jazz heads out there saying, oh, there's loads of other things that you could do. Yeah, that's right, there is, but this is a good strategy that works. It works really, really, really nicely. So have a listen to that. So I'm going to loop those 4 bars. Sounds lovely, sounds really, really, really nice, and I could, again, that'll be a really good thing for me to practice, just to put loop that 2-5-1 and just practice and practice and practice. And for me, it sounds like stories. It's like little stories being told, little musical stories, which are absolutely gorgeous. And I could just spend quite a lot of time just practicing that on its own. And then when we come back to our chord chart, well, that's really it, because the last 4 bars are exactly the same as the second lot of 4 bars, in that we've got a minor 2-5-1 there. So I'm going to play my harmonic minor. Over all, and that's D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C sharp and D. So I'm not going to loop those 4 bars because we've already done that. So now I'm going to play the entire piece, and first time I'm going to keep it dead simple, and second time, so when I say dead simple, I'm just going to play the chord tones and the scale. So I'm just going to do it like a bit of an exercise. And second time, I'm going to do more or less the same thing, but I'm going to throw it around a little bit more. And it's going to sound really, really, really lovely. So let's give that a go. Get my big, beautiful saxophone. It's a perfectly viable solo. So the thing is that I would be happy to play that type of solo anywhere in front of anyone, really high-level sophisticated players, because even though they might not think to themselves, well, that is the most sophisticated solo I've ever heard and I need to study it to see what was going on. No, it's really, really, really straightforward. But what they would think is that this person knows chords, they understand the scales, they understand the structure, the harmonic structure of what this chord chart is asking them to do. And it sounds nice. It sounds really, really nice. And ultimately, when we're playing the saxophone, at least in my mind, the job that we're trying to do is to sound lovely. And I think this does. So it's a really, really, really good way of practicing. So I hope you found that useful. And please let me know in the comments below. By the way, your comments and support mean way more than you could possibly imagine to me and my family. It really makes a huge difference, and thank you for all of the positive feedback. It really does make a difference in getting me to make more content, and thank you for buying us coffees as well, because that helps enormously. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.